is actually everybody that we need. And that's perfect. Good evening, everybody. I am now going to officially call to order our regular board meeting of the Truckee-Donner Public Utility District. It is, in fact, 6 p.m. on Wednesday, August 4th, 2021, and I have a gavel today. So I'm gaveling us in. Can we get a roll call, Shauna, please?
Thank you. Director Cora.
Here. I think that was me.
Director Bender.
Here.
Director Harris.
Here.
Vice President Laliotis. President Finn.
Here.
Thank you.
Right on. Thank you. We are all here. We are going to defer the pledge this evening. Do we have any changes to the agenda, Brian?
President Finn, there are no changes this evening.
Excellent. Public comment moment. This is time that is set aside for the public to comment on, to address the board on any matter that is not on the agenda. Testimony related to any agendized matter should be addressed at the time that that item is considered. I know we have at least one public comment tonight, which I will be reading out loud from Mr. Dewey. Shauna, do we have any other public comment?
No, we have no other public comment.
Okay. In which case I will go ahead and read Mr. Dewey's comment. Hello. I believe that a microgrid is important to the town of Truckee during projected PSOM powder outage events. I again ask the TDPUD board to make the creation of microgrids for the Donner Pass Road corridor from downtown Truckee, past the hospital district, down Donner Pass Road to the I-80 intersection. There appears to be some resistance from TDPUD to operate temporary rented diesel generators as a solution for a microgrid because of potential noise and pollution issues. However, TDPUD has and is actively installing large diesel generators at most of TDPUD's water pump stations. I believe there is some hypocrisy in TDPUD supporting the district's need for diesel power for their internal water pumping activity and not embracing the same technology to provide a microgrid solution for key businesses and our medical district. I again ask the TDPUD board to make the establishment of a microgrid as one of the district's highest priority projects. I believe this is so important to the community that I request the microgrid project be on all future board agendas so that the board and staff can discuss this critical issue with each other and the public. Thank you. And I know we are not required to respond to public comments, and I know I might, but I can't resist sometimes. I think it's an interesting conversation, and I do like to reply and address people's concerns a little bit. And in this one, I just want to reiterate that I assure everybody that we are actively researching solutions to this problem, and it is not out of our minds, even though it's not on the agenda. And I also don't think that it's hypocritical at all as for a public utility whose job it is to provide water to this community, would, in an emergency, that we would identify risks and invest in multiple layers of redundancy for vital services. We've done so for decades, and it benefits the entire community. And I encourage everybody to look at their businesses and their homes and to do an analysis and return on investment, identify the threats and the weak points and invest in improvements. That's exactly what we do. And I know that we're also actively working to decarbonize our water systems. But I don't think that should extend to disconnecting our generators and moving them to downtown Truckee, because we need the water to flow. And I am proud to say that during any PSOM event, we will continue to supply water to this community. Thank you. That is our end of our public comment moment, which brings us to the director's update. Do any directors have an update this evening? Director Harris, please.
Hi, thank you, President Finn. Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that actually last night I attended the Town of Truckee's 2040 General Plan Use Alternatives in-person open house last night. It was at Town Hall, and it was a wonderful thing. They provided a nice packet of information on the general plan, as well as this nice little passport, and you go around to each table and talk to each employee about what is going on. And I think that that's a great opportunity to stay current on what's going on with the Town of Truckee's 2040 general plan. So I encourage you all to reach out and look at that. The other comment I had is the community has experienced a horrific situation with the crash of the jet at the Ponderosa Golf Course and residential neighborhood. Luckily, no one on the ground was hurt, and my condolences go to the family and friends of the passengers and the crew. A loss in events such as this is a reminder that our community is strong and supportive of events like these. I want to thank our electric crews who were on the scene to address the utility lines, the police and fire crews and support services who provide the professional support to limit the damage of the crash area. I think we can all agree this could have been much, much worse situation. And I encourage anyone who is affected by this tragedy to seek the professional help to deal with unforeseen events such as this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Harris.
Thank you, Kim.
Do we have any other director comments this evening? Okay, I have a quick update. Last week was a really terrible week, Kim. Thank you for your kind words of support. I did attend, since the last meeting, the Smart Energy Power Alliance Grid Evolution Summit. And just the big takeaways that I got, that was 3 days of seminars, was that sort of the path that we are on is the correct one, as far as collaboration is a really vital key at this point in time for utilities. That carbon reduction is a planned thing, just like anything else in the utility world. And that communication with other districts and with our community, that we need to really make every effort to bring the community along with us as we make changes, because we know these changes are going to be occurring in our industry. As we change our resource mix to more renewables, we might have to address our rate structures. The very definition of a power plant is changing, pushing towards electrification. These are big changes that are happening, and that we really need the community to be full partners in our future and in this evolution. And one of the really made an impression on me, we need to break the link between the sale of energy and our financial health. With renewables being so cheap, we're going to be evolving into an infrastructure business. That's really what we do. We help people solve their problems. And how, again, it's going to be a real public partnership with ourselves and our community to make sure that people are really understanding the changes that are happening now. And I'll be meeting with Brian and discuss a little more in depth all the things that we talked about in that at that summit. I also did a walk through the forest with a forester with the Tahoe Community Foundation. And that was actually a very heartening event in that, John Fisher, he's the person who is the forester in charge of our section of the Tahoe National Forest. And he seems to think that this community is in a spot where we are actually have the opportunity to get ahead of climate change, that we can get our forest to a state that this town will survive. That with there seems to be a lot of will, and there's already a lot of activity in this area. And it was somewhat uplifting, if a little, it's a lot of work. A lot of work is already being done, and a lot of work is going to continue to be done. But he's worked from Canada to Mexico, and he thinks that we this little section from the summit to the state line to Sierraville to the lake, we can do what needs to be done. So that was a good afternoon. So those are my updates, reporting back to the board of the things that I learned in the past 2 weeks. Okay, if no other directors have comments or updates, I'm gonna ask Brian what his general manager update is this evening.
Thank you, President Finn. I have just a few items that we've been updating and tracking with the board periodically. Wanted to touch base first on giving the community and the board here some updates on our capital projects, both for the electric and water utility divisions. We continue to work on the Truckee substation. Those of you that have been in that area will still see the contractors out there. We're still looking for the completion of that project towards the end of summer. Progressing along quite smoothly. On the water side, we have a few pretty significant capital projects underway. The annual water pipe replacement projects that are taking place up in Tahoe Donner. Those are on Snow Peak, Mulebach, and Northwoods Boulevard. We're probably at the 75% completion point for those projects. We're looking for an end of the summer again completion for those. We're about halfway done on Mulebach, so our residents on that street, please be patient with us. We did hit quite a bit of rock in that terrain up there, so as Director Laudiotis can attest, that rock becomes a challenge as you're trying to excavate a pipeline. But we're moving along. We're on track and on schedule. We did break ground on Northwoods Boulevard this week, and we're planning to have those pipes installed, pressure tested, and connections crossed over here by the end of August, maybe early September. The other project on the water utility side is the Red Mountain water storage tank replacement. And we're moving along quite swiftly. Once we got the civil and groundwork done, it took a little bit of time because, again, the rock challenges and the geography there, things are moving quite smoothly. I'd like to just quickly share my screen to give a time-lapse photography. This is inspired by Director Laudiotis did a presentation, I believe last year or year before, with his group on their tank construction. So, and we will put this on our website for all to view at their pleasure, but I'm gonna share my screen real quick. And I can't expand it anymore, but this is, once the civil work was done and the initial footings for the retaining wall last fall. And I'll just a few seconds here and show you quickly what happens. We didn't work quite this fast, but close to it. This is the winter, not much work during the winter, but you can see for Donner Lake, we didn't get as much snow cover as we normally see out there. And here's where the real work begins. So that will be put up on our website for all to view at their pleasure. We can slow it down and take more time. You can go hour by hour, day by day, but we'll continue to use that kind of platform with the time-lapse cameras out there for our rest of our projects. I think it's a good way to show the community our rates dollars at work. And we're looking forward for that project being significantly completed here by the end of summer. We're gonna go in very soon here working on exterior and interior coatings. Last board meeting, there was approval for that additional cost for some updated modernized coatings and graffiti protection there. So thank you for that. And we'll give you some more updates as we move along. A couple of other items that we're tracking and reporting back to the board is our water and electric usage. We're seeing this year, obviously because of the dry year and high heat, we're seeing about a 5% increase in water usage. And we're also seeing about that in electric. I don't think, the water isn't, moving water and pumping water isn't the only consumer of electricity here, but I think it is reflective of our conditions this summer and perhaps the increased occupancy and activity. So we'll keep track on that. We're still in compliance with our water reduction from our base year of 2013. But it is important, as we noted in our Good Morning Truckee presence a few weeks back with North Star and Squaw Valley, that despite the fact that we have a very rich aquifer, it's important that our community, conserve our resources. We have a very rich basin, but continue to, be cognizant of our water use and hopefully curtail our water use moving forward. From a larger picture, you'll see some notification and news out there about the California drought conditions. They are pretty significant. If you look at June of this year, I believe it's in the top 20 driest Junes in recorded California history. And it's, 2021 is up there in the top 10 for driest years in the last 100 years for precipitation. And so collectively or holistically for the state of California, it's a very challenging time. We're seeing a lot of curtailment orders coming out of the State Water Resources Control Board. It doesn't impact us here locally in this basin, but we do need to be cognizant of the fact that despite our rich resource, we do need to be responsible. And we'll continue to report this out as we see, if we see any, significant effects on our local supplies. From the accounting, customer service, and billing perspective, we've been tracking the past due or arrearages for customer accounts. And we reported last year that the spike due to COVID, and the board approved through board action additional funds for that COVID relief program. We did see kind of a peak in May of this year at around $450,000 in total past due amounts. We have seen that go down. We're at about the $390,000 mark. The 30-day and 60-day past dues have gone down over the last couple of months. The 90-day has kind of flattened out. We're not seeing an increase, but we're not seeing those being completely resolved. And so, as we discussed in one of the previous workshops, the executive order for prohibition of potable water services being terminated for non-payment, that executive order expires September 30th. And so staff is still continuing to reach out to those accounts that are in that 90-day, particularly that $1,000 or more past due amount, and see if we can arrive at a program or an agreement or some sort of facilitation of that payment. We are also seeing continued activity across the state on other funding to help with some of those programs. We don't know what that looks like yet, but we're definitely working with our customers in those large kind of past due amounts. And we'll continue to report out to the board. Of that $375,000 in COVID relief that the board approved, adding on to our previous program, we've seen about $113,000 in benefits delivered for that COVID relief. So that's great news. It wasn't fully, utilized, but it's definitely helped out those that have used it. COVID-19, we continue to track this item, and you've all seen it in the news. The spike or increase recently associated with the Delta variant, and staff is tracking that. We know that there's a political environment right now in California that we believe is kind of putting pause on any immediate action, but here locally within our district control, with staff, we're happy to report out that we continue to implement COVID protocols for those who aren't vaccinated, wearing masks. And we believe our staff has been really responsible in this area. We haven't had any outbreaks with the district, and that's great news. People are going home to their families safely, and we're keeping people, productive. So that's great. We'll keep tracking this item. Our expectation is as we get closer to the end of the executive order and after this, the current, recall election, that we'll probably see some more COVID action here. But we'll also track, locally here in Nevada County, the increase in cases. And with that, the last item I wanted to touch on is PSOM. It continues to be a hot topic here in our community for great reason. Staff, I want to thank Stephen Poncelet as our PIO in Strategic Affairs, and Mr. Womack with the town of Truckee to continue working and collaborating different agencies and entities working with Chamber of Commerce, local tourism, and businesses here within the community on making sure everyone is informed and kept up to speed on this. It's important for us to note, we did get some emails because we're getting at that time of year where we'll see red flag warnings. There's been a few already this year. And it's important to remind everyone that a red flag warning by itself alone isn't a trigger for a PSOM event. And so NV Energy, Liberty, ourselves, we're in tight communication. If a red flag warning is projected or looked at in the forecast, there's other circumstances that are also being evaluated. And so we will definitely give advance notice when we're aware of them. And just want to let the community know that a red flag warning itself is not a trigger for PSOM, and we'll continue to, to monitor these. And then we're working, on making sure that we continue to develop that communication. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. Yes, we are living in interesting times, certainly. That brings us to the consent calendar this evening. Do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
No, there is no public comment.
Thank you, Shauna. Do we have any directors who need clarification or would like to pull something from the consent calendar? No, okay. Wow. Then I think I could entertain a motion regarding the consent calendar.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar tonight.
Thank you, Director Bender. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I think I read Director Laliotis' lips. But we have a double second, and that is just fine. Can we get a roll call?
President Laliotis, we don't seem to be able to hear you.
Yeah, you're not muted, but we still can't hear you. Yep. And now we can't see you either.
He's probably stopping and restarting.
Yes.
There we go.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Can hear you now.
Right.
Director Aguirre,
Yes.
Director Bender,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Vice President Laliotis,
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Which brings us on to our routine business, approval of the treasurer's report for August 2021, which includes fund balances and disbursements for the month. Do we have any public comment on our routine business?
No, there's no public comment.
Do we have any director's comments? Anybody want to chat? I see no chatting. How about a motion?
I'll move to accept the report.
Thank you, Director Aguirre. I will second that. Can we get a roll call, please, Shauna?
Thank you. Director Aguirre,
Yes.
Director Bender,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Vice President Laliotis,
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Which brings us to our final item, number 12, approval of the minutes of July 7, 2021 and July 21st, 2021. Do we have a motion?
Madam President, I accidentally omitted Mr. Dewey's public comments on both the July 7th as well as the July 21st. So I would request that the staff's recommendation to adopt the minutes would be to include those two public comments.
Absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out, Shauna.
And Mr. Dewey is online today. I had a nice chat with him and apologized for that error.
Okay, well, we will make sure that they are included in the minutes then. And as for that staff recommendation, do we have a motion?
I actually have a comment. Do you want me to wait until after the motion or you want the comment now?
That's
Okay. On the July 21st minutes in the closed session, nothing was indicated whether or not there was any reportable action. And I understand that there was no reportable action, but I just thought that the minutes should reflect that because they're reflected in the July 7th minutes.
So noted, and we will make that addition as well. Anybody have any other comments or observations or corrections? Okay, in which case, do we have an emotion to approve the minutes as amended by Director Harris and also by Shauna?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Lalios. Can we get a roll call vote, please, Shauna?
Thank you. Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Bender?
Yes.
Director Harris?
I'm going to abstain from these.
Vice President Laliotis?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes. Well, I think that is a speed record. Obviously, we are being inspired by the Olympics. We can learn. Thank you all for attending and lending your contributions this evening. And we will see everybody next week. We are officially adjourned.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.